Seeing an amazing, solid fight in anime or manga is just truly poetry in motion. It's not only the way in which characters use visually appealing moves, but also how certain characters move around the battlefield, interact with the environment around them, and use it to their advantage is something that I think every shonen fan looks for and remembers about their favorite series. Whether it was Naruto and Sasuke performing an iconic clash, Goku vs Frieza or Saitama vs Boros, I'm sure each and every one of us can recall an iconic fight sequence from those battles. And I think that's what leads us to enjoying these stories that much more. However, I'd argue one manga that's been making waves on the internet rivals the fights of these shonen masterpieces, with that particular story being called Sakamoto Days. If you guys haven't checked out my video glazing up this beauty of a series, you can tap into my video here where I discuss the story at large and how it's an enjoyable read altogether. Something I didn't touch on too closely in that video was how incredible the fights were from a visual standpoint, which is exactly what I want to address in this video. So without wasting any more time, let's take a deep dive into the fights in Sakamoto Days and talk through why I think that this series has truly mastered the essence of what combat is. For those of you who don't know what Sakamoto Days is all about, I'll basically give you a quick summary for you all here. This manga follows the story of Taro Sakamoto, an assassin turned store owner after retiring from the dark underworld in pursuit of love and caring for his family. And he's not just some regular old assassin, but it turns out he's the most powerful one in the entire game, practically being feared or revered by criminals and assassins alike. The plot starts off pretty generic and tame with your typical villain of the week to introduce us to the main cast of characters and get a feel for what they're all about. But the show quickly escalates with its intensity and stakes to really provide a sense of gravity to the conflicts throughout the story. And as the intensity rose, so too did the sheer insanity and choreography of the fight sequences we feast our eyes on. In general, the fight choreography and sequences are amazing, with Yuto Suzuki having the ability to draw movement so fluidly, it's incredibly easy to understand what's happening at all times. And given that this world centers around the underworld and fights between high-level assassins akin to a manga stylized John Wick, it goes without saying that the battles they have against one another are some of the sleekest, coolest, and most creative that I have ever seen. Apart from the increased amount of spectacle in each fight, we also get more of an insight on the characters involved as they develop throughout the story. And this is an area of Sakamoto Days that I don't think gets highlighted as much when it comes to its combat. By and large, Sakamoto Days isn't the most deep story when it comes to its characters, but the fights still give us a nice inside look on the developments that they undergo as well as their backstory. For Sakamoto, he stands at the top of the food chain, being the strongest, where he struggles to find his place in the world and where he'd be able to fit in. In each of his fights, we get a sense of his urge to protect the life that he has with his beloved family and friends and reject going back to the bloodstained life that he used to live, even if it means breaking his rule of killing others. Every fight that Sakamoto is a part of plays off the element of protecting his friends or family in some form or fashion. Shin, a lab experiment who essentially came from a sad upbringing, was given a new family to be a part of and protect with the Sakamotos. As I mentioned in my last Sakamoto Days video, I'll leave a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. Shin's goal in the story is to get stronger and not fight side by side with Sakamoto, but rather have him be an equal. Every fight that he's in gives us a chance to see how much Shin has evolved as a character, and I found myself cheering for him as he encounters tougher and tougher obstacles that get thrown in his way. These fights that we see in the beginning of the story are really cool, don't get me wrong, but things really go absolutely insane once we dive into the later chapters where the Order and Slur's gang are introduced. And this, to me, is peak fight choreography. Whether it's Takamura slicing through a car because a fly harmlessly passes by him, Sakamoto and Kanaguri literally creating a movie as they fight in an empty theater, or Shishiba epically blocking an attack from Yotsumura, the fights are visual delights that literally made me question how shonen action was depicted until this point. Yuto Suzuki's creativity is just absolutely mind-blowing, as he has an immense talent for being able to pull out 100% of an environment and character's potential and turn it into something that's akin to art. Every single assassin in the series fights in their own unique way with their own style and strategies, and this is constantly something that's present in all of the fights in Sakamoto Days. And our main character is the perfect embodiment of this principle. Throughout his fights in the story, we know he's able to make a weapon out of practically anything. Whether that's pens, guns, books, staplers, paper clips, and hats, Every single fight that we see him involved in, I was practically waiting in suspense to see what kind of crazy shenanigans he would pull off. And without exaggeration, I can confidently say that this series felt as if I wasn't reading but rather watching incredibly harmonious and cinematic fight choreography, which is absolutely unreal. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still a ton of amazing fights in manga that can compete with the likes of Sakamoto Days. Chapters of One Punch Man have some of the most beautiful artwork I have ever seen, and those fights are an absolute feast for the eyes when it comes to their combat spectacle. And with mainline shonen such as Bleach and Jujutsu Kaisen, their fights are also incredibly dynamic and really enjoyable to read. But I think what really distinguishes Sakamoto Days as being really special in my eyes is just how raw and clean the fight scenes are. The way the movement is depicted in such a clear, precise, and dynamic way makes the fights feel enjoyably smooth and entertaining to read. And this is just my personal bias, but there's just something so cool about the world of assassins that I find to be so appealing and just plain cool to witness. I think that this all basically boils down to just the different art styles of their creator, of course, but it's worthwhile to note that different mangaka have different strengths and weaknesses when it comes to drawing their characters' movement, speed, adaptability, and how they use the environment around them. Also, the way that I see and interpret a fight is of course subjective, given that it's natural that different people like different things, and that's totally okay. People will obviously gravitate towards the style that they like best, and you can't blame them for it. But for me, Sakamoto Days has everything that I'm looking for in a fight, and then some. As the series progresses, the fight quality, stakes, and over-the-top choreography just continue to evolve and grow to find new and entertaining ways to keep me thoroughly stunned the entire way through. Some mangaka and manga choose to keep the same style of fighting while emphasizing heavy and deep character development, which is totally fine. But to me, the constant improvement of Sakamoto Days fights and truly not knowing what to expect next has been one of the biggest treats I've had in a long time when it comes to reading manga. And trust me guys, I love a lot of things about similar works more than Sakamoto Days, and this video wasn't meant to hype up the series as being the greatest action work of all time. But rather, I just wanted to highlight the core aspect of the series and one where it really shines above its counterparts. As I've mentioned in my last video reviewing the series as a whole, please check out this incredible manga if you're into non-stop action and love to get a couple laughs in along the way. I'm assuming that if you've watched until this point, you're likely to love Sakamoto Days, and I can promise you that you won't be disappointed with the amazing fights and choreography that truly take your breath away. The main cast of characters are super fun to follow, and the protagonist Sakamoto is an incredibly charismatic and charming portrayal of an overpowered character done really well. What do you all think of the fights in Sakamoto Days? Leave your thoughts in the comments and let's chat about it. Also, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're into all this type of analysis, story-based content. Take care, and I'll check in with you all in the next one. Stay curious, anime fam. Peace.